Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My name is Abdurrahman Al-Ahmed, and today I will be talking about the evolution of database technology. And while it is impossible to list every detail and the time we have, I will try to focus on the important developments that led to where we are today in database technology. First up is the introduction. From pre-stage flat file system to relational and object relational systems, database technology has gone through several generations and its history that is spread over more than 40 years. We will have a brief look at how database evolved from 1963 through the year 2000. A brief outlook on the evolution. I will first outline a brief summary of each decade before going into the details. In 1960s, electronic data collection, database creations, and information management systems that had hierarchical database system by IBM and network database management system. The 1970s had relational data models, relational database management, and relational database management system implementation. In the 1980s, relational database management systems were used, as well as advanced data models. These advanced data models included extended relational models, object-oriented models, deductive models, etc. Application-oriented database management systems were also used in the 1980s, such as spatial, scientific, and engineering. In the 1990s, we have data mining, data warehousing, multimedia databases, and web databases. In the year 2000 and onward, we saw the emergence of stream data management and mining, as well as data mining and its applications. We also had web technology and emerging in-house solutions, as well as in-memory databases, as well as big data. I will now begin with a few details regarding what developments were made in each decade, starting with the 1960s. Companies began automating their back-office bookkeeping in this decade. COBOL, which is Common Business-Oriented Language, and its record-oriented file model were the workhorses of this effort during this decade. The 1960s typical work cycle had a batch of transactions being applied to the old tape master, a new tape master being produced, and a printout for the next business day. Moving on to the 1970s. The 1970s had online databases. Online databases transitioned from handling transactions in daily batches in previous decades to systems that managed an online database that captures transactions as they happened. Both industry and university research committees embraced the relational data model and extended it during the 1970s. In the late 1960s, network and hierarchical database products emerged. These database products were developed in the 70s heavily. In the 1970s also, a network data model standard was defined by the Database Task Group, DBTG, which formed the basis for most commercial systems during this decade. In the next decade, the 1980s, Database Task Group based company Colonet was the leading software company. The hierarchical model and network model were heavily used in this decade. Hierarchical model is a tree of records, with each record having one parent record and many children underneath. Network model is each record can have multiple parent and child records, i.e. a lattice of records. The SQL relational database language was standardized in the mid-1980s. Moving on to the 1990s, by 1990, virtually all database systems provided an SQL interface. This included network, hierarchical, and object-oriented database systems. We also saw big new database applications, which included Earth Observing System Data and Information System, or EOSDIS. Big new database applications also included electronic commerce, healthcare information systems, digital publishing, and collaborative design. The 1990s also saw support for multimedia objects. These objects included tertiary storage for petabyte storage, tape silos, disk jukeboxes. We also saw new data types emerging in the 1990s. The 1990s also had an improvement of quality of service. This improvement came in the form of timely and realistic presentation of the data. There were also content-based retrieval and user interface support. Some of the problems that were faced in the 1990s were associated with putting multimedia objects into database management system. This problem mainly included the new data types and how to include them. Problems involving new paradigms for distribution and processing of information were also found. There were also new uses of databases found in the 1990s, such as data mining, data warehouses, and data repositories. In the 1990s also saw new transaction models like workflow management, alternative transaction models, which included long transactions. Some problems involving the ease of use and management of databases also emerged during this decade. In conclusion, databases have evolved over the course of 40 years from basic file system to sophisticated relational and object relational systems. These database technologies continue to evolve and still require more research and development to improve. My name is Abdurrahman Al-Ahmed, and thank you for your time.